Alrighty, good morning to all our delegates out there. Welcome to day 2 after an enormously exciting day 1 and the new virtual experience of doing business. And I certainly had a great time, and I met some amazing people. And of course, we've all learned a great deal. But of course, day 2 has arrived. So today, day 2 is halfway through, and of course tomorrow is Small Business Friday, which we end off on a great experience, an experience like none other. But yep, my turn is up, and I'm going to be spending the next 45 minutes or so with you on my favorite subject, from zero to hero. So Leanne, if you don't mind popping up the presentation, and I can give some insights as we go along. And of course, my objective this morning is if you can take something small away from today's chat with you, then of course my task has been achieved. And a bit of background on myself. Most of you have met me and have seen me before. I've done this talk for some years, so it's quite different now, this talk, but you know, my entrepreneurial background goes for many years. I've started many businesses from zero. I've had a policy in my life that I would never invest any money into any startup. I would, of course, start from zero. Of course, there's a few administrative expenses like registering a company. But whatever I've done, and for some of my companies, I've sold out to international organizations. And over the past many years, I've had the absolute pleasure of meeting some of the world's greatest entrepreneurs. Those Mercury who've gone from zero to hero, many back to zero again, and of course, back to hero. So the animal of an entrepreneur is very much like that. And I spend a great deal of my time. I don't travel as much as I used to, meeting these people to understand what are the ingredients within to get you from zero to hero. And today I'm going to share with you some insights. It's short, it's key. It's my own experience, my own journey, coupled with the world's greatest entrepreneurs and their journey, culminated into a bucket full of key ingredients that can get you from zero to hero, hopefully in a more straighter curve than having too many obstacles en route. So, yeah, Leanne, next slide if you can. And as I said in my previous slide, from startup to greatness. Now, imperative about starting a business is that something exciting that the NSBC has just done. We've recently launched LaunchMark Startup. Your business starts here. It's where as I mentioned to you, where my passion lies. And it's about really helping people out there who've got the will and the want to start out where they are and build a great business. And I know our team will be posting on the right chat there. If you want to, of course, have a look at that site. We've signed an amazing 10-year agreement with CIPC. We will be helping people to start from scratch and help them build a great business. And, you know, often people ask me, well, how do I define success? And, you know, there's so many definitions, but the definition of success is an individual one. Your definition compared to my definition is completely different, possibly. So and I've thought about this over many years, and I communicated my measurement of success, or my definition. My definition is simply this: to do whatever I want, whenever I want. That's the definition of success for me. If I want to have lunch with my children on Tuesday at 12 o'clock, I will. If I want to go on a road trip on Friday afternoon, I will do that. But all the areas that are in that culmination, you know, to live a healthy life, to be happy, to be grateful, that allows me to have that definition of doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And that is my personal definition of success. And you guys are welcome to, in your chat, pop in your definition, and we can document it and we will publish it. So that is really what it is. And what's also important about success, it's amazing. Success is a choice. This natural talent is not about success. Success is a choice, and all of us have that choice, can make that choice to become successful if we choose to. Success is like happiness. Happiness is a choice. the biggest springboard to happiness is gratitude, and the biggest springboard to success is happiness. So these are the kind of things we can choose to do. So I'm going to share with you this morning the key ingredients that will allow you to take one step at a time and get to where you want to be from that side. But natural talent is irrelevant to great success. What do you need to become a legend? That self-belief in yourself is imperative. How do I have that super self-confidence? What does it take to become super self-confidence? Well, like Richard Branson says, adopt the magic of tiny steps. Now, if you can set tiny goals that are relevant to you, and every time that you succeed in each one of these goals, you will start moving towards success. So in time, whatever you do, you'll become successful at. For example, let's start off today or tomorrow or this weekend. I want to run around the block in 10 minutes. You get around the block in 8 minutes. You've achieved your very next goal. The next goal could be, I want to lose 0.5 kilograms in 7 days. You lose 1 kilogram. You've achieved the next goal. So as soon as you start winning, you start becoming more, you start becoming more confident, and your self-belief system helps you to elevate to where you want to be. Next slide, please, Leanne. And this is where I'm coming to now, the total belief in who you are as a human being. Now, as I mentioned in my previous slide, natural talent is irrelevant to success. But from day one in life, we're all born in different ways. Some of us are born into a more, call it, wealthy environment. Some are born from a very humble environment. And at that point of time, no matter who we are, our belief system isn't intact or the way it could be. So these are the adoptions up to be able to get to where we want to be. So please out there, guys, if you have a low self-belief system, if you have a low self-esteem, if your confidence isn't where it is, start adopting the magic of tiny steps and start winning to where you want to go. But as I mentioned to you earlier, you have to have your definition of success. What is really important to you? What is your goal in life? What do you want out of life? And that definition will allow you to set the goal so you can start moving towards that. So because as Maslow, we can all remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom, in this perspective of success, it's to believe in yourself. But here again, it's not a natural talent. Believing in yourself is a habit that you can learn to do and overcome and become confident at what you want to do. And I had that premise for most of my life. You know, I've started a number of businesses. Yes, many years ago I had. But I always knew one thing, that it's only a matter of time until I came back, because my belief system was so strong, because my goals were so important to me. And the definition of my success was extremely important to me from that perspective. So very important to believe it's a journey, and the decision is yours. Next slide. You know, if you look at the greats, if you look at the guys like Jeff Bezos and Jack Ma and J.K. Rowling and Zuckerberg and you know, I study these guys and what's the most important to them. And you know, and what I'm going to share with you in the next couple of minutes is the extraction from all these amazing people, what's important to them, to culminate in that bucket of ingredients to be able to get you to where you want to be. And in the top 3 of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, of the 100 that I know of, passion and loving what you do comes into the top 3. Because if you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life. You have to do what you love. You have to follow your heart and intuition. Passion is the greatest ingredient to keep you going during trying times. So my message has always been, if you don't love what you do, if you're working in a job that you hate, or if you even hate the business that you're in at the moment, you have to change direction, because you can never become who you want to be if you hate what you do. Passion is the ingredient and the fuel to success. So you have to be able to become passionate, and you have to love what you do. Otherwise, you need to change direction. You will spend the rest of your life living a life of mediocrity, because you will never, ever extract out of your system what you want. if you're living a mediocre life, and if you don't love what you do, that causes living a life of mediocrity. And that's the choice we have. Do we want to wake up one day and on our deck chair, no matter how old we are, when we in the twilight years, and look back and say, you know, if only I did this and only I did that. And that kind of statement comes out of the fact that right at this moment in time, stand in front of that mirror and look hard at yourself and say to yourself, do I love what I do? And your body and your mind and you as a person in your family need that love and that passion in what you're doing, because then you will excel. Then you will keep moving. And that's imperative to himself. And here again, that's a choice. You can choose to continue hating what you're doing every day, or you can, well, at least have a strong will to change that in the near future and to hunt down what you really want to do and what really makes you drive. So loving what you do is an imperative part of the ingredient and drive to success. Next slide. You know, in today's time, what's necessary here is focusing on the who. Now, what you've got to do, for those of you who haven't started a business and you're looking at starting a business, you've got to focus on the who and not the how. Let me explain what I'm saying here. Focus on the who. For example, start looking for something that is of interest to you. Focus on where your strengths lie. What do you see where your passion lies? And start zeroing in on the type of business that you want to start. Or if you have a business and you're looking for another business opportunity, focus on these key areas. What business does Mike Anderson really? Where does his strengths lie? Where does his passion lie? Where could he spend most of his day driving on? Would he prefer that than any other hobby in life? So once you focus on the who, focus on you, now you can focus on the who. Now you can search down and hunt down, and now the internet and Google, who is the person or who are the people, the mega entrepreneurs in life who have done what you want to do. And now's the time to model the success of others. And you know what often is? You don't have to come up with a unique idea that's never been done before. You can model the success of others, and you can do exactly the same as what Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Ma or J.K. Rowling has done, and even perfect that and do exactly what they have done to get to where they have arrived at. So the point is, yes, zero in on your talent, your strengths, your passion. Now, look at the type of business out there who's done it the best in the world and model the success of others. You don't have to change the wheel. You don't have to come up with a brand new idea, a new opportunity that no one has done. But what you can do is copy an idea out there that's been done so successfully and bring in your own personality and character into that. And that's the measurement of success. And if you look at the great people around the world, those people who've done it, the mega entrepreneurs, they want you to copy exactly what they've done. They want you to become equally successful as what they have become. So there's nothing wrong with modeling the success of others. So importantly, spend some time zeroing in on your passion, your strengths, your wants, your will, and now search for, hunt down who's done it better than anybody else, and then follow exactly what they have done to get to where they have arrived at. Next slide. You know, here again, this slide kind of coincides with the slide before. You know, what did Jim Rohn say? He says that, of course, formal education will give you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And, you know, I'm not saying, you know, formal, no. Of course, it's there. But it's not going to make you a fortune. The combination of self-education. If you look at the world's greatest entrepreneurs, they've arrived at where they've arrived at because of self-education. They wake up every day. Now, for example, if you look at myself, Mike Anderson here, I can't read a book. I can't read anything longer than a few paragraphs. And the thing is, my attention span doesn't allow me to do that. I'm not saying reading is not important, I do it in a different format. I self-educate myself every day. So if I go for a run or if I exercise, I listen to podcasts. So every day I self-educate myself on where my interests and my passion lie, so that I can seize further opportunities or expand on what I've done already. So for me and I'm also very much of a non-fiction success kind of person, and to build onto that knowledge. So I'm not a formally educated person. Not that I didn't believe in it, I just didn't go that route in my early days. I wanted to become self-educated as an entrepreneur, and that's what I went on to do. But there's nothing wrong with formal education combined with a high drive for self-education. But the big problem here is, just because you've got a formal degree, don't allow yourself now not to become self-educated on a daily basis, because that is dangerous. That is not going to allow you to get to where you want to be as an entrepreneur, of course. So Jim Rohn says, and the mega entrepreneurs of the world, have a mission now. Look at your interests. Look where your passion lies, to becoming or expanding on your entrepreneurial abilities, and focus on becoming self. There's amazing content out there. You know, before the internet, this was a challenge, of course. But now with internet and Google, I spend at least 1 hour of every day of my life with a mission to self-educate. If I can take one more message or one more tip or one more trend out of that, then I can add it onto what I'm doing. And of course, spend my time doing what I do best. Next slide. Well, you know, this is, if you look at here again, and if you look at the greatest of all time, and the great entrepreneurs I'm talking about, and in the top of the pile as well, you know, coupled with passion, loving what you do, here's the big one as well: soaring with the eagles that fly high. Only surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. People who inspire you, who believe in you, and don't criticize you. You're only the sum of the 5 people that you hang around most with in life. Do not associate with negative people or people who are destructive around you. Now, people say to me, Mike, well, hello, what about my family? You know, every time I have a Sunday lunch with my extended family, they ask me when I'm getting a job, because I've started my own business, you know, and they've only got negative things to say. They're destructive. It's tough enough out there to succeed in any environment, never known the pandemic. And the point is, you know, you've got to make that hard choice. For me personally, I will only surround myself with positive, like-minded people who I can share my time with, who I can, of course, share the positivity and the gratitude and help me on my road to achieving greater success. I will not engage or encounter with destructive or negative people. And that is a point that I took many years ago. And I'll tell you something, if you research and you understand the greats around the world, they adopt the same, soaring with the eagles that fly high. So here's my quest, and here's my, of course, my request, or you can take it as you will. You know, analyze to yourself, who is important in your life? Who are the people in your life who are encouraging you, who are positive towards you, who believe in your drive, and embrace them. And get rid of those people out there who are negative and destructive. Time is our biggest asset. We don't have a lot of time. You know, we can't hold time back. So don't waste your time on people who are destructive on your journey. And that's the key point of soaring with the eagles that fly high. Please, Leon, next slide. Do things differently. You know, we've got to do things differently. Now, I know most of you out there are entrepreneurs, and you know, when this, I think it's 18 months ago when this pandemic arrived in, of course, March of last year, almost 18 months. And most of us, we had to think quickly and act differently and adapt. You know, we had 2 choices. Do we curl up in a corner and die? Or do we stand up and exude that positivity with that determination that I'm going to make this happen? And of course, that's the point. The most successful people in the world do things differently. They challenge the status quo. And that's the big thing here. Start walking on the wrong side of the road. Start swimming upstream. Here again, on a Saturday morning, take your family to a shopping center and go up the wrong side of the escalator. Funny, but it's just to add on to the flavor of what I'm talking about. And now's your time to start doing it, because you've got to do new things. You've got to change the things that you're doing. Well, it's not, if you always do what you've always done, you'll only ever have what you've got right now. Who said that? Of course, Albert Einstein. So if you're 100% happy with where you are right now in your life, well, then don't change. But if you're 99% or less, 100% excited about where you are, then it's time to do things differently. Keep what you're doing exceptionally well, identify what you're not, and change that. So start doing something differently, start doing things differently. The important thing is here, adopt the mindset of doing it differently. And this is where we are in life. You know, as I was doing a briefing the other day on virtual events and stuff like this, is that we've all got to change, if we haven't already, our mindset that the virtual world is here to stay. I'm not saying that the physical world won't come back, but the combination will definitely be there. The mindset we've got to change, and we've got to embrace this new way of doing business. We've got to use it to our advantage and extract into it what we can to drive a bigger and more successful business. So here's the thing. If you look at the world's top people, let's say the top 100, 99.9% of them do this. So here is my challenge for people out there if you're not doing this already. So let's start doing things differently from today. And here's what we can do, a few things. First of all, I can't ask you here in a physical event, but you can on your chat. How many of you out there get up at 5 o'clock or before 5 o'clock? First thing. So here's the thing is, start doing that. The most successful people in life get up at 5 or before 5, before the rest of the nation. And then again, your streets ahead of the rest of the nation. You've got to get up, you've got to seize the day. The next point is, you've got to exercise. I exercise just about every morning. And of course, it allows me to have mental health, physical health, and it allows me to think properly and think differently. Entrepreneurship is a challenging world. And if we don't have a healthy mind and body, we're not going to be able to do the things that we need to do when we need to do that. So exercise, like most of the most successful people do. The next thing is have a healthy breakfast and spend some time, quality time with your family. Remember, you've got up at 5 or before. Important to engage. Then is focus on your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And then finally, plan your attack for the day. Now, if you can do all of that before most other people, you've got to have the edge in wherever you're going. So guys, if you're not doing that, the formula works, try it. But here again, you can choose to, or you can choose not to. But my point here I'm making is that it's doing something different. And we've got to get into the habit of doing things differently, adapting, changing, and focusing on what to do well, and what we're not doing well, of course, work on that. So next slide, please, Leanne. Well, you know, positivity, gratitude, you know, these are the ingredients. I'm going to ask you a question if you want to answer me here. What is the number one reason in life why someone will do business with you? Is it the product? Is it your pricing? Is it your strategy? Is whatever. The number one, by Harvard Review Global Survey, the number one reason is because they like you, for no other reason. So, and normally I ask people, well, are you a nice guy? And here again, it's not a funny question, it's an important question. Are you a nice guy? Because if you're not a nice guy, if you're not a nice person, if you're not a nice lady, then now's the time to start being nice. So how do I become a nice person? Why is this so important? Well, if success is important to you, it's imperative that you learn to become a nice guy. And if you are a nice person, you can add on to that. So what do we need to do? We've got to, first of all, be positive. As I said to you, you've got to soar with the eagles that fly high. Be positive. Positivity is one of the most important ingredients of success, because positivity causes gratitude. And gratitude is a springboard to happiness, and happiness is a springboard to success. So let's look at a few things here. Become more forgiving. Don't be this angry person who doesn't forgive anybody for whatever has happened to them. Take responsibility for everything thrown at you. If the bank doesn't give you money as a loan, take responsibility. Maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe my credit score isn't where it should be because I haven't done something about it. You've got to take responsibility for everything thrown at you. You've got to become more grateful. Every day, find a reason to be grateful. Find a reason to thank someone in your office or on the road or in a shopping center. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Gratitude. Be more positive. If a negative thing crops up into your mind, replace it with a positive thought and become more positive. You cannot be successful if you're not positive. I don't know one highly successful person who's got a negative attitude. It doesn't happen out there. So positivity, gratitude, forgiving, taking responsibility is imperative. And as I said before, and the point is, if you look at the late Steve Jobs, he focused on this a great deal, and this is who he was. So importantly, we've got to look hard at that. Next slide. Well, don't overthink. Take action. And like Leanne will tell you just now, I spent many years talking about this. And for me, it's pretty much one of my biggest action points. Look, all these are action points today that I've adopted years ago, and many of the greats have adopted. But if I have to ask people out there, now I'm asking people out there, if you really want to start a business, why haven't you started? And the number one reason, well, there's a few reasons. First of all, it's the fear of failure. And the other reason is that they're waiting to perfect their business plan. They're waiting to perfect their idea. They're waiting to perfect everything around them. Stop overthinking. The conditions will never, ever be perfect. Once you start taking action and you start doing something about what you want to do, then you can start perfecting. Because the feedback, the consequences, the results will allow you to start moving towards perfection. But don't spend the rest of your life overthinking about something, because you will never take action. So my plea to you is, if you want to do something, do it. Let's not worry about failure, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Take action and do something about it. If you're 50% of the way there in perfection, do it. If you've just got an idea, do it. The whole point is like the LaunchMark Startup initiative, which the NSBC launched a few weeks back. A very exciting initiative, right from registering your company and going on. People say to me, well, Mark, I don't want to register my company yet because I don't even know what I'm going to do. So what? Register your PTY Limited company, and that gives you the point of action. You can change the name of that company. You can bring in a name 3 weeks down the line or tomorrow or the next day. Just start doing something. Wow, I've registered my company. Well, what do? I have no idea. Isn't that beautiful? Then you can say, right, now I've registered my company. What's next? Okay, look, you may have an idea. You may have a business plan already set. But taking that tiny step towards getting to where you want to be is the key point, what I'm saying here. And then you can start perfecting your business plan and getting your name right and getting your ideas into action. So guys, please, there's not, I've met people, great people most of my life, and 20 years ago, they would say, Mike, I'm getting this going tomorrow. Well, they're still getting it going, and that's sad to me, because you know what the point is? There's only so many years in our life. Do we want to be 1% of the population who are super successful? Are we going to be 4% of the population who are doing okay? Or are we going to be 95% of the population who are living a life of mediocrity? That, to me, is an offense to yourself. So, guys, please take action. Do something. Make it happen. Richard Branson, if you can remember. Next slide. Well, be brutal on the money. There's no greater person I've met. There's no greater investor I've met than as Warren Buffett, of course. And this is an important point. There's a few points around be brutal on the money. We've done quite a few surveys over the past 15 odd months. Well, we've always done surveys to understand the needs the challenges of the SME environment. Because whatever we do at the NSBC is based on what SMEs want us to do for them to help them grow a bigger and more successful business. And we're proud of that achievement, and we will continue to drive that hard. But one of the key areas is we have to be brutal on the money. How many of us out there, you know, when you're starting out your business, or you wake up in January the 1st and you do your new projected income statement for the year, does your income always arrive at where you projected? And do your expenses do the same? No. Isn't it like this? Your income is always low. Your income is lower than you expected, and your expenses are higher than you planned it to be. Well, that's the nature of business around the world. And you make less money than you thought you would. It doesn't have to be that way. But the point is, we've got to be brutal on the money. And the big learning coming out now is that we've asked that question. What would you like to have done knowing the pandemic was arriving? This doesn't apply to the pandemic. You know, we bring in the positivity of everything right now because we have to. But there's a big learning here. The question is asking every SME, and we've done this survey, and this is what it is really. What I wish I could have done. I wish I had no debt. I wish I had non-essential spending, and I wish I'd stockpiled more cash. So what's the goal here? Get rid of non-essential spending, get rid of debt, and stockpile more cash where you can. So when the conditions are right, you can take action and opportunities. And stop buying the things that you don't need, because you will soon be selling the things that you need. And the other point here is, every day when you woke up, know your numbers. Know your numbers. What's in your bank? Who do you know owe money to? Whose money owed to you? Your cash flow forecast for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And tweak your numbers every single day. So your Excel spreadsheet, or you can open it up and you can tweak those numbers. So you can look down on your numbers and you know exactly what is happening in your personal life and in your business. So be brutal on the money and treat every cent in your pocket as your last cent. The respect you have for money. And I tell the story many times, many years ago. I walk around and I walk into an office park and I drop 20 cents and it goes down a gutter. I'd leave it there. How disrespectful is that towards myself or towards money? These days, if that happens to me, I will find that 20 cents and I will give it to someone who needs it. So guys, be brutal on the money. Understand your numbers, know your numbers. Don't buy the things you don't need. Stockpile more cash, get rid of non-essential spending, and get rid of debt as much as you can. Next slide. You know, embrace failure. I just want to see what am I looking good? I've got 10 minutes to go. Thank you, Leanne. Right. Now, failure, you know, for me, it's an important word. And because it's a positive word. And that's why we as entrepreneurs, we have to embrace failure. It's not a negative word. I've never met a successful entrepreneur who hasn't failed at least once, twice, or 3 times. Okay, that's the way it is. If you start a business and you think you're not going to hit the wall, well, then don't start a business, because it's not for you then. But if you take that failure as an obstacle en route to your success, and you learn from that failure becomes meaningful. So guys, we can fail as long as we learn from that failure, because eventually you have quite a few. I rather call a failure an obstacle en route. So let's say we hit many obstacles en route, but every time we hit an obstacle, we learn from that and we embrace it and we bring it into our road ahead. And soon we just keep on going and we start climbing that ladder and we eventually get to where we want to be. We've got to take risk, calculated risk. Reasonable risks, not silly risks. Because if you're not going to take a risk, you're not going to start out in life, or you're not going to get ahead. You know, think about this. I've met many people. Well, Mike, I've never ever failed. I said, have you tried anything? Well, no, not really. I've had my job for 20 years and I'm proud of that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, here again, I say there's 2 types of career opportunities. One's not better than the other. Entrepreneurship or climbing the corporate ladder. It depends on what you want out of life. But if you're not prepared to take a risk, you're not going to get to where you want to be if you want to be an entrepreneur. Why? you're waiting for the conditions to be perfect, or are you scared of failure? So there's nothing wrong with failure. You know, sometimes I engage with the financial institutions, and we often have these roundtable breakfasts. And some time back, I had this engagement with a senior official of a bank, and he said to me, Mike, I wanted to meet with you for breakfast, and this was before the pandemic. And he said, we've got banks, we've got a problem. We are funding people. We are funding people out there who've got squeaky clean records. But the problem is they've never done anything. They've come out of the environment, now working environment for 20 years. They want to start a business, and they get a credit card and an overdraft. And we they got squeaky clean credit scores. But he said the problem here is, you've got an entrepreneur who's been an entrepreneur, who's lost, who's won, who's lost, who's won. Now they're going again. And we won't come close to that person because their credit scores are not looking very good. So the point is that that person is more likely to succeed in the future than the person who's got that clear credit score. But what I'm saying is, the credit score here is imperative. We've got to take care of our credit score. And if you're not doing that, listen to my talk this afternoon, my Q&A. With Ferdy, of course, the Chief Executive of Experian. And we're going to talk about this, the importance behind it. So guys, embracing failure and taking risks. And of course, you've got to seize opportunities before the tipping point of success. And that's the imperative angle towards taking risk. Next slide. Focus on what matters most and say no to almost everything and everybody. Now, if you look at the greats, like here, Warren Buffett spends a great deal of time on this. Focus on the important stuff, not the urgent stuff. Declutter your life. Get rid of what's urgent and focus on what's important. Now, remember earlier on I said, focus on your plan of attack for the day. Focus on what's important to you and your business. And only that. And of course, focus on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. Only focus on what you do best at, and outsource what you're not good at. Imperative. And then focus on what's important. And we have to, as entrepreneurs, we have to say no to almost everything out there and say no to almost everybody. Stop meeting with people that you don't need to meet with. Stop doing things that you don't need to do. Free your time to focus on what's important and who is important. And that's, for most highly successful entrepreneurs, this is an imperative part of their top 10. And that's why they say, the most successful people in life aren't busy, because they're focusing on only the important stuff. So if you're very, very busy and you're doing okay, just look hard at yourself in the mirror and say, right, what am I doing? What am I doing? Who am I talking to? Who am I meeting with? What am I doing that's not important? And get rid of all that stuff and do more of what's important and engage with more people who are more important. And in that way, you will declutter your life, have more time to do what's important, and speed up your success. An important point. Next point, please. Next slide. It's hard out there. It's been hard out there for many, during the pandemic. I mean, it's hard out there, whether there's a pandemic or not. And we do know there are many entrepreneurs out there in the tourism sectors and the hospitality sectors. I've met many of them who went down, and of course, we have a huge mission to help them come back. Because these are great people. These are people who are job creators, and society needs them. They didn't go out of business because of bad management. They had a great business at the wrong time, during a difficult time. And the important thing here is, I'll tell you, and I think from that side is, when we go down, we've got to be positive and resilient and come back. I've been there. I've been there. I lost everything years back. I lived in a cave. My last food I had was an orange and a little bottle of water. But as I said to you before, I knew I was going to come back because I chose to. and I did, and I had the fortune to do that. But the important thing here is that when I say we've got to keep moving, no matter how hard it gets, we've got to keep moving, no matter how hard it gets. But if something is not working, don't throw in the towel, change direction. And if you do go down, stand up again. Learn from, why did you go down? What happened to you? Take responsibility, even if it's not your fault. It doesn't matter. But be resilient. Take responsibility. Learn from that experience. Stand up and keep going. Because the very point here, if you keep moving and you never give up, you'll always arrive at where you want to be. Next slide. So I just want to say, it's thank you for the opportunity of being able to engage with you this morning. I hope that you can take one or two small things out of here that can help you in your business. The NSBC team is here to help you. We will do whatever we can to make your life as an entrepreneur a better life in your business. When I started at 14 odd years ago, and before that I sold out a successful company to a European company. But before that, of course, I'd lost a few times, and so I understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I understand that the journey is not always easy, but there's nothing more rewarding than being an entrepreneur. My success is that I can do anything that I want, anytime that I want to, and I've paid the price for that, and I will continue. I still work, crack of dawn, late at night. People say, Mark, do you enjoy playing golf? My most passionate hobby is this, what I do, helping other people to get to where they want to be, and using my experience and my knowledge, and the experience and knowledge that I've gained from many of the world's greatest, so I can share with you to help you on your quest for success. So I hope that so far you've enjoyed the event since yesterday. Engagement with you this morning, and thank you for that.